Welcome to HFY Sci-Fi channel. Don't forget to subscribe and explore. A child once choked to death on coolant fumes because a salvager wired the wrong manifold. Jace watched that man walk free. Cables crunched under worn boots as cold fog spiraled down through cracked ductwork above. Somewhere beyond the oxidized gantries, alarms chirped without urgency, swallowed in the static hum of vacuum-tired life support. Rust bloomed like rot across ceiling plates. Neon washed everything in citron haze. Gutted reds, boiled blues. The reek of burnt alloy laced the air. Inside Lot Hall C, voices murmured low and bitter, as if swearing invoked fines. Down one row, shoulder clipped a dented canister. Sparks coughed. A grease monkey didn't flinch. 39, shoulders sloped from habit, burned scars along left wrist. Jace Calder shifted weight to his right heel and squinted at an auction tablet slotted in an open crate. Lot number 729, drone parts. Partial yield. Junk. Next bay, hauler deck. Cracked spine. Junk. Further down, wagon-class civilian transport, sealed cargo. Lot number 742. Hull scuffed like it fought asteroids and lost. Pitted panels, unmarked registry. No bidders. No questions. Varix clicked his jaw mic once and grinned too wide. Opening at 9:50. Certified sealed. No manifest. Auctions final. No one moved. No one spoke. A silent shrug, then Jace's left hand rose chest high. No hesitation. The silence deepened. Going once. Twice. Varix's teeth flashed like relic. Sold. Calloused fingers signed credit authorization. The moment felt like buying a coffin. He didn't celebrate. Didn't nod. Just turned away, boots dragging threadbare over concrete composite as a low murmur resumed behind him. Someone whispered, "Poor bastard." Back near Dock 3C, his rig, half a tug, half a drunk's idea of a shuttle, snorted coolant like it disapproved of company. Jace thumbed the docking sink twice, then waited as lot number 742 floated across on rusted magrails, cables sparking with every shift. The sealed transport looked older up close. Scratches deeper. Rear bay was bolted, not welded. Someone wanted it shut. Rain pattern frost on the outer seal hadn't melted, despite station warmth. Jace squinted. Pressure readings fluttered low but stable. At most tight. No power drain. No ID beacons. No flight logs. Inside his rig's cockpit, he flicked 3 toggles, double bypassed the tether lock, ran an override decrypt on the main hatch. 4th try, circuit smoked. 5th, the lock clanked. The door hissed, stubborn. Metal groaned like a bad memory. Darkness inside swallowed the cabin light. Old breath left his throat. Gloved hand reached for the rail. Metal cold as guilt. His father once said, "Never trust what stays sealed too long. Either it's sacred or it's shame." Jace never liked that phrase. Didn't stop him crossing the threshold. Inside, air hung stiff. Artificial gravity hummed low, the kind tuned to bones that healed wrong. Instrument panels blinked yellow-red-yellow. Something had cycled recently, but not finished. No smell of death, no hum of life. Just static charge and ancient stillness. Toward the rear, beneath layers of thermal foam, a bulkhead blinked blue. Embedded panel flashed alien runes, zigzag glyphs paired in triplets. Below it, faint heartbeat of cryosuspension pulsed once every 4 seconds. A sleep pod. He crouched. The glass was frosted inside, but movement stirred condensation. Face close, eye to the curved surface. He caught a shape curled inward, insectoid plating over slender limbs. Silver-chased exoskin shimmered faint. Slit pupils closed. Mouth flat. No visor. No forefeed. ID tag etched beside. Yara, Warden Matron. Do not unseal. A hum in the deck rattled beneath him. Power rerouting. Not his doing. Pulse in his neck climbed. Should have walked. Instead, finger hovered above the external override. One press to disengage the seal. Behind him, docking clamps clicked shut. His tug's AI flashed amber. Proximity alerts, ignored. Jace pressed down. Steam vented soft and hot. Seal broke. Inside the pod, her eyes snapped open, irises lit molten copper. They locked onto his. She didn't scream. She spoke, in a voice layered with memory. Language unfamiliar, but inflection sharp as a blade. Translation implant failed. All it translated was tone. Accusation. Command. Warning. She rose, slow and fluid. He stepped back, but not fast enough. Long fingers seized his collar. Not violent, deliberate. Her head tilted. A scent, burnt ozone and cold sugar, rose between them. She hissed one word in that alien tongue. He didn't know the meaning. Didn't need to. Her ship. Her seal. Her rules. And he had broken all three. Behind him, a docking alert flashed red. Another ship approaching. Jace didn't look away. Neither did she. Her hand remained on his chest. His throat dried. Not a rescue. Not a ransom. He'd won a war widow, and her war wasn't over. Her scream didn't echo. The walls swallowed it like the hull had heard worse. Light bled dull through smeared panels, a bruised mauve against cracked composite. Air inside hung too still, dry, preserved, hostile to lungs grown soft on station filtrates. Metal gritted beneath boots as Jace stepped past the threshold, shoulder brushing a conduit so cold it burned. The ship hadn't exhaled in years. Not properly. Condensation beaded on the interior canopy, trembling along ridged frames that might have once gleamed but now bore time like rusted metals. Loose cable clusters wept insulation fluff, drooping from panels above with the limpness of old nerve endings. Behind him, the outer hatch resealed with a hydraulic groan that sounded uncomfortably close to disapproval. 39 years. 2 failed contracts. 6 digits of debt. Jace Calder adjusted his grip on the magtorch and stared at the junction ahead. Corridors branched in uneven angles. Civilian design language, but something subtler shifted beneath it. No labels in Terran Basic. No sound of air cycling through vent. No emergency lights. Just that same bruise hue bleeding from corner lamps on minimum reserve. One pressure door resisted his approach. Manual override port had been sealed with an adhesive resin that cracked like bone when scraped. Beneath, a brass-lined input plate flickered uncertainly, glyphs crawling across it in sets of 7, too smooth for any script human tongues had learned to curse. Tool braced in elbow, he unrolled a pulse decryptor. 3 tries, 1 spark, 1 fuse pop, and finally, with a long hydraulic sigh, the panel receded. Inside, a square chamber. No controls. No seating. Just temperature baffles along the wall, all pointed inward. At the center, the pod. It wasn't a coffin. More a cocoon, vertical, transparent on 3 sides, armored along the spine. Mounted cables curved into the floor like root. Frost painted the lower third in jagged wave. Underneath, the figure. Humanoid. Mostly. Curled forward, knees drawn high, arms crossed over chest. Exoskin, semi-opaque and silvered, wrapped her like ceremonial armor. Not battle-grade, ceremonial. Too intricate. Joint seams filigreed with a soft bronze sheen. Hair like black coral hung suspended around a jaw set in grief. Face turned inward. No movement. The pod registered stable vitals. Slow pulse. Muscle atrophy low. Brainwave irregularity ignored. The last log dated 71 years ago. A data tag blinked above. Yara. Warden class matron. Bioloop sentience retention active. External override prohibited. 2 warnings below pulsed in alternating red. Reclamation violation. Custodial sanction required. He leaned in, eyes skimming runes until one word blinked yellow. Unclaimed. Across 3 galaxies, that word meant auctionable. Back pocket yielded a splitter node. He spliced into the access loop, overrode the compliance key. Internal power jumped, low thrum shook the deck. Pod lights brightened. Cryolocks pulsed red once, then green. She screamed before her lungs remembered silence. A burst of light cracked the pod seam open. Moisture spilled in hot, damp gusts. Her body surged forward, caught mid-fall by inertia. She didn't collapse. She landed, knees and palms spread wide, insectal balance instant and perfect. Shoulders arched like antennae, spine twitching, every joint tracking motion that hadn't existed seconds ago. Mouth opened again. Not a scream this time. A phrase, syllables carved sharp enough to taste. Jace raised both hands. She rose to full height in a single breath. Taller than expected. Slim, armor-layered legs bent in two joints. A faint whine as shoulder plates aligned. Eyes burned low amber beneath a second set of smaller lenses that flicked once, like shutters. Left hand snapped out, fingertips to his throat, not pressing, just measuring. Right hand hovered behind her, poised midair as though expecting a weapon to answer her call. He held still. Didn't blink. Couldn't. She studied him like she didn't believe he was real. A slow inhale. Then, a question, language thick with static, like water trying to imitate fire. His translator skipped. Restarted. Failed again. Partial rendering. Bonded steward? His voice came out cracked. I bought the ship. That's all. Another phrase. This time, witnesses. He shook his head. Just me. She blinked slowly. Something shifted in her spine. Emotion, maybe, but her hands dropped. Not in surrender. In judgment. The lights above surged brighter. Entire ship's battery matrix came online. Her presence had keyed the ignition. Everything obeyed her. Jace took a half step back. The ship sealed behind him. Her gaze followed the motion, unfazed. A slow turn. She surveyed the chamber like returning to a childhood home after war. Every corner received a glance, not one wasted. Yera, he said. That's your name. She turned. One long breath. Then she said it, his name. Not Jace. But the alien syllables, dragged from some system deeper than cognition. He hadn't told her. Hadn't needed to. The ship had. The bond had. Something had. She blinked once. Then closed the pod again, sealed it behind her, not entering, just acknowledging, and turned toward the cockpit corridor without waiting. Jace followed. Not because she told him. Because he'd already opened something neither of them could close. Her first full sentence was a question that did not allow for an answer. Glassware exploded behind her as she moved. Cabinets, sealed by pressure clasps, ruptured under directional resonance. Her voice tuned to wrong frequencies. Shards scattered across the floor. Jace raised his arms, palms up, but Yera stalked forward with weightless control, her frame fluid, steps too silent for her mass. Ambient lights dimmed in waves. The ship bent toward her mood. Oxygen density shifted, slight but real. Outside, artificial sun lamps baked rust orange across Legrand's docking span. The hum of neighboring cargo drones buzzed beneath the hull. A loader bot passed in the distance, unaware it drifted near a declaration of war. Faint hisses sounded as secondary venting cycled coolant. Old ships like hers didn't breathe often. But now it exhaled sharp. A clawed hand pressed to the bulkhead as Yera spoke again, this time lower, slow. Translator worked its way through syntax, stuttered out, "Why are you in my ship?" Jace replied low. "It was auctioned. I bought it. I didn't know it was occupied." She didn't blink. Didn't speak. Pod was locked. No ID flag. Nobody claimed it. Still no movement. He added, "You were listed unclaimed." Now she blinked. For the first time, something inside her armor shifted without control. A tiny shudder. Legs recalibrated stance. Mandibular hinge stuttered. Not fear. Recognition. A law had been violated. She asked flatly, "You paid for this vessel?" "I did." The ship's cabin lights dimmed again, deeper. Somewhere beneath, landing clamps flexed. She looked down at her palm, flexed it once, then curled all fingers in a circular motion before opening them wide, an act that made no human sense. The ship responded by initiating a system reboot. When she looked up again, her voice had changed. Less accusation. More duty. By code of Warden Matrons, this bond is sealed. What bond? Jace asked, stepping back. You claimed the vessel. You revived me outside the circle. You are the steward. By pact, my life is bound to yours. He stared at her. I didn't ask for that. It is not requested. It is enforced. No. No, listen. You breathed my ship's air, overrode my cryolock, witnessed my face before the flames of return. You are the claimant. You cannot refuse. I didn't know. He barked it, tone sharper than intended. She only tilted her head. Ignorance does not break lineage. Jace wiped a hand down his face. I'm not your husband. The translation filter clicked twice before offering a word. Not husband. Not partner. Oathed. That settled in the air like a metal dropped in still water. He stepped forward. Look, I didn't sign anything. I just bought a wreck. She didn't speak. Jace tried again. I'm not owning you. I just wanted parts. Scrap. A faint glow pulsed along her collar. Energy sink. Something binding, ancient. If you had opened that pod on my world, she said, you would be buried in song. Then bury me somewhere else. This is wrong. A pause. Her jaw set, unreadable. Outside, a station droid paused near the hull, camera swiveling toward the dock registry. ID pings blinked from nearby ports. Rumors traveled faster than radiation in Legrand's belt. Jace saw the notifications scroll across his compad. He wasn't the only one aware of the unsealed claim. Varric sent a message. Dock cameras flagged motion. You okay? Another one followed. That's Warden cast armor. You sure you want to be seen with her? Jace cursed under his breath. This wasn't supposed to be anything. Yara tilted her head again. You are known. What? I hear movement in the data threads. Your name echoes. You bought a matron's final silence. He frowned. What are you to them? I was witness to extinction. I hold memory. I hold oath. She touched her own chest. They do not want me seen. Not reborn. More messages. Some from ship crews. Others anonymous. She's bonded. That makes you accountable. Return her before it spreads. You owe blood or exile. Steward. That last word stuck. Yara sat cross-legged near the cockpit bulkhead. Not submission. A ritual, maybe. She drew a line on the deck with one claw, then another. Slow, deliberate, a symbol formed in silence. The lights dimmed again. Not shipboard, but external. Someone was shadowing their dock. He stared at her. Can't you just walk away? I cannot. You unlocked my breath. You own its debt. I'm not taking ownership of anything alive. You already did. The ship sealed again. Silence reclaimed the chamber, filled by breathing, hers, calibrated and still. His, uncertain. Outside, the station whispered. Inside, two lives waited for the other to break first. Air in the clerk's office smelled like fried coolant and ink cartridges left too long in zero-G. Fluorescent panels buzzed, drowning out attempts at reason. Jace stood rigid, grease on his sleeves, trying not to grit his teeth while a bureaucrat with translucent skin filed imaginary papers. Outside the port window, his ship loomed. Lot number 742, still docked, still sealed. A silhouette moved inside it. She didn't pace. She waited. I want the bond annulled, Jace said, for the third time. The clerk didn't look up. Interstellar caste union law supersedes local petition. You engaged a matron vessel. She was unclaimed. You revived her. I didn't know she was a matron. You still unsealed her alone. I wasn't trying to marry her, I was trying to scrap a junker. A long pause as fingers tapped on an invisible screen. Does she contest the bond? He exhaled. No. She insists on it. Another pause. Then it stands. Stewardship is sealed. Jace walked out without saying another word. Dock air pressed thicker on the way back. Recycled too many times, flavored with exhaust and irony. The moment he re-entered his hangar, Yara stepped into view. Not blocking the path. Not greeting. Just present. She held a panel in her arms, an access hatch he hadn't opened. The wiring behind it was new. He paused. You touch my systems? She tilted her head slightly. Your systems do not serve either of us. I didn't ask you to touch anything. You did not lock them. I will. You may try. That night, he did. Next morning, she walked through the sealed airlock anyway. Security code changed. She left the old code etched on his datapad with a single word. Inefficient. He tried to sleep in the cockpit. She curled near the reactor core. Neither acknowledged the arrangement. When Jace woke, systems diagnostics had improved by 17%. Fuel cells rebalanced. A sensor array long dead had rebooted. Hull microfractures had been self-patched using supplies he never inventoried. She moved like a veteran technician with muscle memory from another lifetime. She didn't speak unless prompted. When she did, it was concise, command-weighted. He asked once, "What were you before all this?" Her answer was quiet. Matron. Meaning, keeper of oath, guardian of memory, mother of 4, defender of the outer nests. Those nests still around? No. He waited for more. She didn't offer it. Days stacked in that rhythm. She moved through the ship like a priest moves through sacred ruins, hands reverent, eyes alert. She recalibrated the helm, realigned thrusters. He watched from the gantry, arms crossed, jaw clenched. When he powered up a solo flight, she was already on board. Said nothing. Sat beside him. He landed. She stood. Left without speaking. He tried locking her out again. Rewrote the entry code to a 16-character Terran hex. She cracked it in 4 hours. Then reinstalled the interface with a language he didn't recognize. The door opened when she touched it. She added one word to the ship's control ID, oath. He deleted it. It reappeared. Their routine hardened. Jace handled external deals, bartered for coolant, paid off 2 creditors. She handled internal systems, ran quiet diagnostics at odd hours, rebuilt a waste exchanger from scrap. Their only sustained conversation was during a fire suppression failure, when smoke flooded the NAV bay, and she snapped orders with heat in her voice. He listened. In the silence that followed, they said nothing more. One night, near the engine bay, she sat cross-legged before a shard of metal etched with names he couldn't read. Her hand rested on it for minutes without moving. No tears. No words. Just presence. He watched from the shadows. Didn't interrupt. The next morning, a new bunk had been bolted beside his. He didn't ask. She didn't explain. They never touched. They never left each other alone. In the tight rhythm of routine, something raw settled between them, unspoken, immutable. She wasn't his. But she wouldn't leave. He didn't love her. But he'd stopped trying to be rid of her. Neither would admit that something old and quiet had started living between the hull walls. Something not quite survival. Not quite affection. But refusal to abandon the other. He shut off the ship lights that night, one by one. Found her already seated in the cockpit, eyes on silent stars, hand resting on a control she never needed to touch. She didn't look at him when he sat. Didn't need to. He stayed. Docking clamps shrieked like metal being forced to remember its shape. 3 ships dropped from drift orbit without transponder codes. Matte, hull-sheathed, cloaked to radar, too slow for smugglers, too quiet for traders. No welcome hail. No beacon ping. Just raw mass shifting into place above Legrand's lower ring. On deck 3C, overhead lights sputtered once. Not outage, load pull. Inside the ship, coolant pressure spiked briefly in the secondary loop. Yara looked up from where she sat calibrating inertial dampers. She did not speak. Did not blink. A thud rolled down the gangway, a pressure fluctuation from a new vessel latching without request. Varix called in on the private channel. 3 arrivals. No dock permits. They came for her. Jace didn't ask how he knew. Varix added, voice low, she wasn't abandoned, Calder. She was buried. That ship wasn't for sale. It was silenced. Jace looked across the cabin. Yara remained crouched beside the NAV console, fingers dragging slow across a schematic display. The projected lines lit with her touch. Not one flicker of surprise in her frame. Just recognition. He toggled comms. What do they want? Her. Not for bounty. Not for return. What then? Varix paused. The archive. Jace's stomach turned. Archive of what? Everything. She's not just Warden Cast. She was a keeper. Stored memory, living translation strands. Genetic echo. They didn't just kill her colony, they erased its past. She's the last copy. Jace looked at her again. Her eyes hadn't moved from the panel. Varix whispered, "You've got one night." They gave the station until next shift rotation to hand her over. After that, they take her themselves. Transmission cut. Outside, the docking corridor pulsed a soft amber, an automated alert for unauthorized tethering. No sirens. Just color. The kind station staff ignored when things got political. Inside, Jace powered down comms and crossed the chamber slowly. "Is it true?" he asked. Yara's hand stopped midair. He repeated it. "That you carry memories? I am a matron. Answer me." She turned. "My people anchored memory to flesh. I bore the chorus of my line. When they burned the nests, I sealed what remained. So you're a library. I am not a book." "No," he said. "You're leverage." "No," she said, quieter. "I'm a threat." Jace stepped back. Her head tilted slightly. "They fear what I remember." He asked, "Can you give it to them?" "I can die. It releases the archive." "They plan to kill you?" "They plan to extract." That word hit heavier. Jace paced once, twice, slammed his palm against the bulkhead. "You didn't think I should know this before I cracked your pod?" "You already had." His breath caught. "What?" "When you unsealed me," she said, "your touch verified biometric intention. The bond formed. The data strand began to echo. You don't carry it, but your breath marks the lock. They need both of us now." His jaw tightened. "So they kill you. Then they take me." "They will try." She rose without another word. No rush. No panic. Just motion, precise, honed, familiar. She crossed to the mainframe, keyed in an override. Hidden panels snapped open across the ship, defense interfaces, a short-range disruptor grid, 2 pulse turrets long dormant. "This ship was civilian," he said. Her reply, "No ship is ever just one thing." From a storage unit near the engine, she pulled a sleek obsidian case. Inside, armor plating segments, her old cast insignia etched faint under burned scarring. She began strapping it on. Methodical. Ritual. "Say something," he said. She didn't. He grabbed her shoulder. "Yara." She looked up. "I didn't ask for this." "No," she said. "You answered." Behind her, the defense grid powered to full capacity for the first time in 71 years. Outside, the corridor dimmed again. Another ship tethered. Third clamp sealed. Silent pressure locked against the airlock bulkhead. Inside, they waited. He stepped toward the helm. She remained by the reactor, watching system readouts cycle. Neither said what they both understood. There was no surrender left to offer. And no one coming to negotiate. Dawn on Legrand's belt wasn't sunlight, just the shift from rust-orange station lamps to a sickly pale blue. Cold light crept across docking corridors as if reluctant to admit another cycle had begun. The clamps broke first. Metal screamed down the spine of Jace's ship as the primary lock detonated under a shaped charge. Pressure alarms shrilled in the cockpit. Emergency seals slid into place across junction doors. Through the viewport, a sliver of hostile hull loomed close enough to scrape paint. 2 more shadows circled slow, engines humming with predatory patience. He didn't wait for the next breach. Snatched the mag torch, dove into the maintenance shaft. His knees slammed steel rungs, ribs catching sharp on conduit corners. Sparks cascaded from the first plasma cut of the day, alien sabers chewing through outer plating, orange hot. Above him, the ship growled. Power conduits surged to life. Systems he thought were dead came online with a bone-deep hum that rattled the bulkheads. Yara was on the bridge. Static hit his ear, her voice, no translator lag now. Shunt them aft. Cut their teeth where they bite. Jace didn't argue. Punched a breaker, rerouted heat bleed into auxiliary coolant. A corridor behind him exploded. Alien borders vaporized as pressure purge blew them into black. Through grates, he glimpsed her silhouette, tall, armor fused to plates across shoulders and hips, lenses glinting amber in smoke haze. She stood at the NAV array like a conductor summoning an orchestra from rust and ruin. Every finger flick spun code into violence. Pulse cannons extending from bays he didn't know existed, point defense grids singing white arcs across the void. Enemy ships answered with fire, turquoise lances tearing gouges along the hull. Deck vibrated under impact. Something ruptured forward. He crawled through heat, coughed copper from lungs, slapped a thermal patch over coolant piping with hands that wouldn't stop shaking. Borders breached again. 2 shapes dropped into the service well, 4 arms each, skin lacquered black. Jace swung the mag torch before the first finished its landing crouch. Steel hissed through sinew. Second lunged, jaw splitting vertical, teeth like fused glass. He drove a power wrench through its throat, twisted until cartilage snapped. His calm spat her voice once more, sharp as a blade. Port lock, clear it. He yanked himself 3 ladders down, vented an entire section to vacuum. Borders pinwheeled out, limbs clutching at nothing. The wagon roared now, no longer dormant, no longer polite. Reactors bled heat like fever. Turrets stitched fire through black. One rival ship split amidships, spilling pressurized mist and glowing bodies. Another lost its drive core, spun helpless. Third tried to disengage. Yara locked a tractor array and drove a spike beam through its cockpit. No time for surrender. Then, silence. Not peace. Just aftermath. Jace climbed from the crawlspace coated in ash and coolant, boots crunching glassy fragments as he stepped into the main corridor. Smoke curled low under flickering strips. A fire suppression mist hissed, tasting of salt and metal. She walked through it like nothing could touch her. Armor plates soot black, mandible hinges streaked pale from vented vapor. No triumph in her stride. No rage now. Just a calm that belonged to predators after the last kill. Amber eyes passed over him once. Pause. He waited for thanks, for apology, for anything that tethered her to something human. None came. Because she had never been what he imagined, a widow clutching remnants of a lost life. She had been a tactician, exiled by circumstance, waiting inside a cocoon of steel for a reason to unsheathe every blade she once commanded. And Jace understood. He hadn't awakened her. He'd unleashed her. Wreckage drifted in slow spirals, ships unmoored from command, bodies indistinct in the pale rotation of Legrand's outer belt. Fire no longer burned. It glowed. Long lines of molten hull metal curled through vacuum like gestures forgotten mid-sentence. Jace sat in the cockpit, hand hovering above the NAV console. Below it, a string of coordinates blinked softly. Earth. 2 jumps. Clear lanes. He didn't press it. Ship interior pulsed low with residual heat. Shields ran at half capacity. Life support normalized. Yara hadn't spoken since weapons cooled. She entered without noise. He didn't turn. We can go back. Earth's open. She stood at his left, arms folded. To do what? Hide. Heal. I am not wounded. You're not welcome out here. No, she said. But I'm not hunted anymore. He tapped the screen. You still want freedom? I want will. He angled toward her. You don't have to stay. Her head tilted slightly. You do not understand. Try me. She stepped closer, not intimate, not aggressive, just present. You awakened me. You chose not to command me. That was enough. That doesn't answer. I do not belong to you. Her tone held no edge. But I remain. He leaned back. What would that make us? Two with no orders. No past that can be restored. No future promised. He nodded slowly. So, crew. She blinked once. Co-command. A beat of silence stretched thin between them. He erased the Earth coordinate. New ones entered, uncharted drift. No gate destinations. Just open sky. Her fingers tapped into auxiliary helm. Without looking, she activated a secondary plot curve. Complementary arc, power balance thrust. They didn't need to agree out loud. Somewhere behind them, the station grew smaller. Somewhere ahead, there was nothing. The stars didn't care. The dark didn't ask. In the cockpit, two figures sat in parallel chairs, once tied by culture, collision, and law. No longer. Now they flew not by accident, but by choice.